let's dive into C3, and you guys have a brand, like a CPG brand, Cloud Cover, and then you have a retail outlet under High Profile. So did you guys start with one over the other? Did they both come to market at the same time?
Yeah. Yeah, like I mentioned, for us, it was really the product first. So the Cloud Cover brand is what came to market first. That's what we launched with in Oregon. And really, again, I think where a lot of our initial interest in the industry was really on that product side. So when we launched back in Oregon, we built a indoor cultivation facility. And the only brand that's ever come out of that facility is all Cloud Cover. So we weren't doing, and we still aren't doing any white labeling or any third-party product. It's all just what we produce in-house, and then we focus on that quality, like I mentioned, and all of it that comes out of there is the Cloud Cover product. As we started getting deeper in the industry, exploring some other markets, some of our brand strategy, was kind of what drove us into the retail as well. And what I mean by that is, we really wanted to start having direct access to consumers as well. We wanted to be able to understand what aspects of the product were resonating, which ones weren't, and it was really a helpful way to get a kind of a complete feedback loop, right? And so, through that and frankly our expansion as well, and wanting to continue to kind of pursue smart opportunities to grow, we then launched the High Profile brand. And so, the way we've built the company right now is we have them as two separate brands. So Cloud Cover is purely a product brand. It is not in the retail business. That team's focus and differentiation is really on product quality, product consistency, and ensuring that we're, kind of in the wholesale market, in a lot of stores, getting access to a lot of consumers. High Profile, on the other side, is very much a retail brand. The strength of that team is in how they curate products, knowing what is good quality flower versus lower quality flower, knowing what is an appropriate price, and then providing a great customer experience. And so, obviously our High Profile stores, they carry Cloud Cover product, but we also carry a wide array of other products. And similarly, Cloud Cover will, of course, sell to High Profile stores, but the majority of that business is actually sold through third-party stores. And again, for us, it's about making sure that both brands are kind of standing up on their own and focusing on what their kind of strength should be.
Yeah, that's good. It is an interesting aspect of the business when you have vertical integration, but at the same time, doing distribution to other retail organizations, going beyond just a private label brand and actually, selling Cloud Cover through, potentially competitive retailers, and having those kind of, I guess, areas of expertise is I'd imagine key, right? Because driving a retail business is very different than driving a product brand out there, and having people that are able to kind of figure that out would be, I would imagine, very important. As you guys have that retail footprint, there are some advantages. When you think about like a traditional brand, in the sense of no retail footprint at all. Even in, outside of cannabis and any kind of vertical that's out there, they have to sell through retailers. Maybe they have a direct to consumer model, maybe, but often when you think about your favorite CPG brands, with Coca-Cola, Frito-Lay, whoever it is, right? They're going through retailers. And one thing that they're missing is that relationship with the consumer. It's hard to create that direct relationship and get feedback and understand, what is the consumer looking for. And I'd imagine, having that retail aspect would be beneficial to any kind of product development, to get the feedback from maybe your bud tenders that are at your retail locations. Are you guys able to take advantage of any of that? Are there synergies between them, even though with areas of expertise kind of divided between retailers and the brand itself?
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously they are two brands, but they are one company, right? And so we are definitely getting that feedback loop and the benefit of it. And so that's been really helpful and really powerful to hear, not only from our bud tenders, but also directly from the actual consumers, buying at the retail locations, what are they liking, what are they not liking. We can see the sell-through data, but we also even the data is of course incredibly powerful, but even the anecdotes of understanding if consumers are loving the nose on one variety we grow, or if they love the consistency on some of our concentrates, or if they're focused on one of our boutique varieties may have a smaller bud size, and so is that something that they like or they don't like in certain instances, or understanding that kind of potency focus. So really, again, for us, there's all these different attributes that go into high quality products in this industry, and I mean that across categories. That's true of flour, that's true of concentrates, that's true of cartridges, that's true of edibles, any of these categories. And so I think getting the qualitative information, which is more anecdotal, but you can only get through a conversation with a customer, is really helpful. And then of course the data on what's moving, what's the sell through look like, what are people reacting well to, where's the excitement and the enthusiasm, right? We have certain varieties that we grow in very limited batches, and when they come out, they're gone very quickly, right? And it's great to know that and to plan accordingly. So, yeah, I think we're able to, like I said, kind of benefit from both the data, the kind of quantitative aspect, but also some of the anecdotal or qualitative information that we get from being able to talk to customers directly.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of data, I was looking at some data in Oregon through Headset here, and I saw that White 99 is one of your best-selling flower strains, which kind of, I guess, gets me to the question of, like, how do you guys determine the genetics? And I think you're kind of starting to answer that there with some of that qualitative conversations and understanding what the customers are saying. But, how else do you guys think about it? I see a lot of brands out there that focus on maybe tried and true strains and having a big stable of, different strains that are, almost brand names unto themselves. And I see other brands that are out there that are focused maybe on their own genetics, or maybe more limited strains that don't have the kind of name recognition. How do you guys think about it? And, as a follow-up, I guess, like White 99 does seem to do really well. And what is it about that strain that you guys look for and maybe bring to your other strains in your brand portfolio?
Yeah. No, listen, it's a good question, or a good series of questions there. So I would say, yeah, on the one hand, there's the feedback that we're getting, the data that we're always looking at. I think the other big part of our product portfolio, or at least of our strain portfolio, really comes from our cultivation team's experience. And my partner Joel is a very talented, experienced cultivator. Was in Colorado for a long time at one of the leading companies out there, and I think that part of the trick of being a good cultivator is also knowing what type of genetics work well within your system, right? So we have a certain cultivation philosophy that our facilities are kind of built around. We have certain nutrients that we run. We have certain processes that we run, and all of these things can work well or not work as well for certain genetics, right? It's not all genetics grow well in different environments, right? And so not only are we looking for that customer feedback and always trying to react to it, but we also have a view on what we know we can produce really well. And so it may be the case that something is the hottest strain out there right now, but we know that if we run it in our system, it will only come out mediocre. We might shy away from something like that, right? And so while it is obviously customer centric in the sense that we want people to enjoy the quality product we're putting out, it's also on us to ensure that we aren't just kind of chasing some fads, even if it hurts our product quality, right? And so we're constantly trying to live in the middle of those things, right? How do we ensure that we have some of the more boutique type genetics that can be really coveted, but how do we also ensure that we have just quality across the board, right? And then the other things as business owners that we have to be mindful of too are things like yield, and how difficult are different plants to grow, and there's operational considerations as well, right? And so that's obviously the less sexy side of the business, but we are trying to triangulate all of these things, right? What works well in our environment, what makes sense overall from a business standpoint, what makes sure that people are also getting some of the unique kind of hype, that they're also seeking. And between those three things, we need to have a portfolio of products that kind of touch on each of them. But we candidly don't want to be too skewed on any one of them either.
Right. Well, I think that's a fantastic approach. I like what you were saying earlier about like kind of the limited edition genetics that kind of come through and sell out quickly, and people are probably excited for that stuff, and then having some that the tried and true that you can have that consistency and that experience and are always available. But it all comes down to just being mindful and really having a strategy around your genetics, because it is a way to kind of differentiate brands at this point, and the way consumers talk about it.
No, totally. And we're focused on, we have some genetics that we have bred in-house. That's something we're doing, a bit of now and actually ramping up, or some of our breeding efforts, because we do think it matters from a differentiation and brand standpoint. We also have genetics that are from other well-known breeders that really Joel or his team have relationships with. That's another great way to kind of approach the space. So it's definitely something we're being mindful of. And, I think people also don't always realize that you definitely have to have a strategy on these things, because running a new genetic or dropping, something new to the market takes 6 months of planning, right? You have to go through the entire plant life cycle. So right now we're having conversations around how we want to load the rooms coming in a few months for what will then drop in, kind of the spring or late winter, right? And so it's not as easy as kind of saying, hey, like this is something that would do really well right now, let's go run it and it'll be in the market tomorrow, right? And so that's the other reason that I think some planning and kind of thinking about, how these rooms come together, the composition, of the strains you're putting out is really important.
Yeah, I mean, it's an agriculture product, right? And it takes time to grow this stuff, and you can only accelerate it so much. And then you have the situation where if you don't think it through and it turns out to be wildly successful, and you don't have enough and you haven't planned far enough ahead, then that's tough on the consumer when they really like something. Now it's not there, and then there's the delay. So really thinking it through is key.
Definitely. Yeah. No, and you had asked about the White 99, so for example, like the White 99, that's I think the attributes of that variety are, that one is it's a pretty heavy hitting sativa, and it tests high. And in a lot of the markets that we're in, we see there's a big portion of consumers that just love these heavy hitting sativas. It has big buds, it's got great bud structure, it smokes well, it's really clean. And so, that's one of our staples that we cultivate, that is just a nice, consistent kind of bedrock of our portfolio. But that's not one that if we drop it tomorrow at a store, it'll sell out, right? It's more of a steady, true, everyone knows it, they know what they're getting. It sells well in all of our markets. And then we also have ones that are much more limited in production, that are more about, get it while it's there, and then know it might not be coming back for a few months.
Thanks for joining CPG, the Cannabis Packaged Goods Podcast. For more information on Headset, visit headset.io.